to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Just want to start off by saying that our thoughts and prayers are with the Nashville community. Welcome to the joint meeting of the Eastchester Board of Education and the Eastchester Town Board. We welcome Supervisor Anthony Colavita, Councilman Luigi Marcoscia, Councilman Joe Dooley, Councilwoman Teresa Nicholson, Councilwoman Sheila Marquardt, Town Clerk Linda, Police Chief Joseph Rodriguez, and Superintendent of Parks and Recreation Sally Vitildi, and Town Attorney Louis Rita. Welcome, everybody. Just want to introduce ourselves. I'm Chrissy Gagan, the Board President.
Jackie DeMarco, Board Vice President.
Christine Lombardi, Trustee.
Lori Giacobbe, Trustee.
Matthew Finelli, Trustee.
Rob Krakowski, Trustee.
Christy McCloskey, Trustee.
Judo Holstein, Board Secretary.
And Vito Catania, Trustee.
Ron Valenti, Superintendent.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I also wanted to ask our town clerk to take a visual roll call. Thank you. You got everybody there. Anyway, I want to thank the school board for hosting this special joint meeting. The last time a joint meeting was held was on November 28th, 2007. And it was the first time that the boards had ever met. And I'm glad that we were able to get together this time as well. During that meeting, we tackled what every town meeting distills down to is traffic and parking. And it was all about the traffic on Stewart Place, parking around the neighborhood, and all kinds of different issues. But things got worked out cooperatively. That's really the most important thing of all. You know, we have some matters that we're going to review tonight that concern both boards. So we thought it best to consolidate the meeting so that people wouldn't have to go to one meeting and then go to the other meeting. You know, it's a little easier for our residents. But it's important for our mutual constituents to recognize a level of cooperation and the sharing of facilities and services and a joint purchasing that goes between the district and the town government. We work together, particularly for our youth, to save taxpayer dollars, to provide more opportunities for kids recreationally and non-recreationally. Also, just generally, that results in a quality of life improvement in the town of Eastchester. We recognize, of course, that we are both funded by the public. So it makes perfect sense to save tax dollars anytime we can by buying things together, by sharing our facilities and our playing surfaces. And also, you know, anything that we need to do together, we always cooperate. And that's really the important thing to note about our time together. But I did want to mention, so the public is aware, our residents are aware of the level of cooperation and coordination between us. The town does for the school the following. We provide all of our fields, Handle Field particularly with lights on it, and we invite anytime the school wants to have a game up there under the lights, you're always invited. It's an open invitation. I know the football team hasn't won too many games up there under the lights, so it's a little bit of a bad thing, a little bad luck going there. So hopefully they can get up there, play, and beat up somebody to break the streak. But also, Chajacey Field, Dunwoody, Parkway Oval, these are all available for school teams. And varsity trumps all recreation leagues. So anything that goes on, the varsity has top priority, school varsity. We also are members together in the Sports Council, which is an organization of all the leagues in town, the 3 school districts, and 3 municipal governments, and we parse out the fields. We also handle things like insurance for the leagues, as well as background checks for coaches and all of that. But the school district and the town are the 2 key players in that organization. We also provide Leawood Park for tennis. Leawood, by the way, is going to undergo a $3 million renovation this summer, so the tennis courts will be in outstanding shape for fall and spring going forward. We also have Lake Isle Country Club available to the district, so for the swimming team and also for the tennis team and for the golf team. The bleachers that were recently put up years ago here at the main field, the town participated in that. We contributed because we use your playing surfaces. We have people that come to games for rec teams that use the bleachers, so we thought it was appropriate. Also, we have jointly purchased blacktop together to save on tonnage. The town did the paving of the initial middle school lot. When it first was put in, then of course it was extended thereafter and repaved. We helped with the design on the lot across from the Board of Education building. We also collect all of the district's garbage and recycling. And we do that with our trucks, with our manpower, and we pay the tonnage because it's far, far cheaper to have us do it than it is to have a carting company come in, where you'd be mid six figures to have a carting company take care of that. We've also swapped properties with the district. The district gave us some property to make Handle Field, and we gave the district the street out in front of the school, Stewart Place. Additionally, when we needed to build the field house at Handle Field, the district was very generous and gave us property to widen out the area to put in the field house, which everybody enjoys. We also partner on the SRO, which is the subject of some of tonight's meeting. The district also does much for the town. Our recreation teams and our leagues use every single school field, and there's never an issue, never a problem using the school fields. Greenvale, Ann Hutch, the high school, the middle school, all the fields, all the gyms for that matter. We have the EIBL, and we use the gyms also for volleyball and for wrestling. We recently had our championships for EIBL last Saturday at the gym. It was phenomenal. We had hundreds of people coming in for each game. They're all exciting. We made it a point before we started every game to thank the school district for permitting us to use their facilities, because we really appreciate that. Also, the auditorium that we use on many an occasion is always given to us whenever we need to, whether it be for summer theater or whether it be for special events like the Hometown Heroes or Memorial Day or Veterans Day or a rain out for a parade or whatever the case might be. Schools give us camp space too. Most importantly, the recreation camps could not exist without the cooperation of the school district. Without the school facilities, there would be no camp. Without any camp, parents would be pulling their hair out, dealing with their kids all summer, or paying an arm and a leg to go, to Harrison or to Mohawk Camp or whatever the case might be. So that's important. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later also. But in the end, really, we feel it's a responsibility, it's an obligation that we have to do the best we can to share, to jointly purchase, to do everything we can with the school district. Because, it's easy to say, okay, you guys do your own thing. You have your own garbage picked up because it makes our budget look better. But like I said earlier, it's all the same tax dollar. So what sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense at all. It's foolish, as a matter of fact. But that's what we do together, and I know that as the future develops, we'll continue to partner and to continue buying things together and sharing facilities together and doing everything together, because it's important for not just for the bottom line, but also to have a great quality of life we've all come to enjoy in the town. We also do a lot for the Tuckahoe School District, which happens to be completely contained in the town of Eastchester. And we also partner with Bronxville on a few things too. But that concludes my remarks, and I thank you all for listening to that for a couple of minutes. So that brings us to the opportunity to address the board. If anyone would like to address the board on any of the specific agenda items we have this evening. Very nice. There being no one, I think we can move to the reports of departments, boards, and commissions. And Mr. Rader normally would introduce us, but I'll do that because he's sitting amongst the residents here. And it's a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute and deliver an intermunicipal agreement, an IMA, between the town of Eastchester and the Eastchester Union Free School District, whereby the town of Eastchester will provide the Eastchester Union Free School District with additional school resource officers, SROs, for deployment on school premises. Presently, there are 2 officers that work for the Eastchester School District. One is generally here at the middle school, high school campus, and the other is at the grammar schools or floats around. What we're doing is we're adding 2 additional officers, so we'll have a total of 4. So there would be 1 at the high school, middle school campus, and 1 at each grammar school, okay? Or Waverly, I should say. I don't know if that's considered a grammar school these days. But Ann Hutch and Greenvale. So we'll have saturation and coverage for all of the school campuses. And what we've done is we've partnered with the payment for those officers. We're going to split the cost of the new officers, actually the 3 officers. One of the officers, the first one, is still under contract till next year. But when that contract expires, we'll be sharing the cost for all of the officers. And of course, we're doing that for a lot of reasons, but the predominant reason is as a deterrent and as a defense mechanism. So as the chair indicated, we don't have the situation that happened in Nashville. But also it develops a relationship between the kids. It keeps down crime in the school. It also we have a zero-time response. If anything goes wrong in the school, the officer's right on the premises. And there's a host of different reasons why it's good to have an officer in a town that's in the school district. But we feel as strongly as the school district does, and we are glad that they initiated these additional officers. And I give them credit because it was their idea to keep additional officers, move additional officers into the rotation. Also, the agreement provides that if the officer is sick or is on vacation, we'll have a substitute officer. If the officer has an issue with the school, then the school has the right to approach the town and say, hey, can we improve on his skills or her skills? Can we get a substitute? So this provides for a lot of management issues with the town's police officer. But I think in the end, it's an excellent idea. And I don't want to monopolize the time here, but I open up if you guys want to open up for a conversation or
Yeah, we have some comments too.
Please do.
Thank you, sir. You covered a lot of ground, and we very much appreciate that. Madam President, did you want to say something?
Go ahead.
We have our chief of police here, and we have our director of security. Would it please both boards if we had a few words from each of them as to what the role of the SRO officer is and how we work together? Chief, could we ask you first to come up to the microphone?
Good evening, everybody. Just as the supervisor and superintendent said, so the SROs generally, as we know, were assigned to the high school, middle school. This program started several years ago. And in that role, obviously the officer not only provides security, but they have more of a relationship with the students. They're older students. They tend to come into the school and they'll have problems they want to address with the officer. Unfortunately, as we've seen, school security has become a major issue. And the tragedy in Nashville just highlights the need to hopefully put an officer in every school. Speaking about the Nashville thing, the officers in that case did an excellent job. They found the threat, they mitigated the threat, and that's what we would expect from our officers. So we're hoping that just the presence alone of the officers in the schools is enough of a deterrent, and if not, our officers are trained. They're trained in active shooter response. They're trained with long rifles, which they utilized yesterday. And if the deterrent's not enough, we hope that they can mitigate any threat to the students. And also it does, at a younger age, you're not going to have the same issues you would in the high school or middle school level, but it does give the children an opportunity to interact with them more. Now, I know so far the rotation of the officer has been a great success, at least, the feedback that we've gotten. They can play with the kids. They're outside during lunch. They see them going in. They see them going home. And it gets the children comfortable with the police. So far, we thank the board, the town board, the school board. We think it's been a great success, and we hope to continue that partnership.
Thank you, Chief. Director of Security, John Kugler, for the Eastchester School District. John, would you say a few words about our coordination?
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to meet everybody tonight. Just to add to what the Chief had said, SROs play a vital role, not just a uniform armed presence in school, but they do play a major role in other things. Aside from working closely with school administrators to provide safety and security and a safe environment for students and staff, they assist administrators in developing school security and emergency response plans. They serve on building emergency response teams, on threat assessment teams, and post-incident response teams as well. They participate in lockdown drills. They monitor hallways, parking areas, building exteriors. They help screen visitors, perform security checks on exterior doors, and direct traffic. They create a positive relationship with educators and students and provide student referrals to youth agencies and programs. They participate in community-based drug and alcohol prevention programs, and they talk to the students about the dangers of underage drinking, drug use, and the like. So it is a vital role that they play aside from their uniform presence, and we are happy to have them here at the high school and middle school and coming this September in every elementary school. So Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
I just want to say thank you to the town for this partnership. This is really a milestone achievement for Eastchester. We live in a scary world, and I think we're all sick about what happened in Nashville and watching the news the last couple of days. So I think for the parents, the staff, the teachers to know that we will have an SRO on each campus next year, I think brings some peace of mind. And we couldn't have done it without the partnership of the town. So thank you very, very much.
I'm glad John mentioned the DARE officers, because they're uniformed officers that are in the grammar schools, and we have a refresher course in 8th grade, but for 12 weeks. And it's great to have them in as an additional source of police protection. It also softens up the officers' reputation, and the kids become more apt to speak with them, and they're not on the business end of the police officers' baton. They're there to have a good time with the officer. That's important too. And for whatever it's worth, the superintendent of Tuckahoe School says, whatever you do, don't take Officer Minio out of this school district. So it was kind of nice to hear that, because
We almost did.
Yeah, I know, you got to be careful. You got to watch you guys. But Charles does an excellent job, and they love him down here. So anyone else have any further comments?
Does anyone, Matt?
Just one thing to add, which you both highlighted in terms of the relationship that's built. As most of you know, I have a whole gaggle of kids, and the highlight of my second graders week last week was playing basketball with the officer at his school. So I think there's something to really be said about the partnership. I thank you all for that partnership, but there's something about that relationship that you can't put a price tag on, and I think that's invaluable to the kids in the school. So wanted to mention that.
Vito?
I just want to thank town board for doing this tonight. I was here when we did it the last time. It was very productive back then. I don't know why we haven't done it since then, but I don't think, maybe we didn't have the need because everything was going so well and you run the town so great. We really do live in a great community, and it is a community. It's a community of people and neighbors and friends, and the school district is a big part of that community, but the town is even larger than the school district. And just having your support on everything that you guys do at the town board is great. We have one of the best police departments anywhere, and you guys are outstanding. Same with our firemen and EMS. My God, how could we ever get by without them? They do a great job as well. So I just wanted to say thank you for all of that. And I look forward to having worked all these years with you guys that we'll continue to do that. And we're about to be doing some great things in the school district. And, with your support and help, we could probably do a lot more. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I just wanted to point out, Madam President, that the resolution that both boards will be voting on is a 2-year term, 23-24 and 24-25. And the district will support 3 of the 4 officers, and the town has agreed to support the 4th. Of course, at any time, we're open to discussion about further deliberation on the costs. But that's what we're approving tonight.
Okay.
Well, we were voted the 16th safest town in the country in 2021, which is very impressive. And the men and women of the department do an excellent job. But I don't want to put the whammy on us. I want to make sure that people realize that that's because we work so hard and our department works so hard to keep the place safe. So let's hope it stays that way. So if we could, Madam Chairman, independently, I need to call for a motion and a second for the town board.
Yes.
So someone care to make a motion?
Would you
on
like to
this?
go first as our guest?
Sure, if you don't mind, thank you.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Linda, would you kindly call the roll?
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte? Aye. Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Markoccia?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavito?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion? Matt first and Christine second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Good. Well, let's
good.
give them a round of applause. Thank you.
The town law says we have to call every name individually. You guys, it's a little easier that way. Well, we have correspondence next, and I think we're gonna move to the Parks and Recreation situation.
Yes, we have that, a report on that.
Yeah, please
Yes.
do.
Well, the report is in 2 parts, I guess. I'll give part 1, Obviously, we want to work very closely with our town in terms of offering our schools during the summer. I do want the community to know this is going to be a challenging summer because at both the middle and the high school we'll be doing asbestos removal from approximately July 1st to August 15th. That leaves us only 3 schools really in play, so we would like to use one of those schools for our programs directly and Hutch. We would like to give you entirely the Greenvale School, and then would like to share the Waverly School, so that in effect I believe that helps accommodate all of your town activities that you would like to conduct. It allows us to conduct our regular Regents examinations and courses, our E&L and special needs program, and we are introducing a new program that is part of the budget, by the way, since we are talking budget, a K-8 academic intervention program. And we intend to have 1 grade at each of those levels, meeting in the mornings for either AIS intervention, academic intervention services, in either ELA or math, and students can enroll for both sessions or for either of the 2. And we would encourage families, when we get the information out, to take advantage, and we'd love to add more sections and be able to accommodate as many students as possible. So it is a shared experience, but if your representative for the town would like to speak to your needs for our summer camp, Mr. Supervisor, would be happy to.
Sally used to sit on this board, actually.
Yes.
And then we co-opted her, and she is now the head of recreation, the head of buildings and parks, and the head of senior services.
Wow.
And she wears 3 hats in town government, and she does them exceptionally well. So we have consolidated, as you can tell. Sally, would you like to just point out about the duration of camp and put a plug in for counselors?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Great to be back. So, yes, thank you very much. We know that this year there's a lot of construction going on, and we're very grateful we even have the opportunity to have summer camp. Without the use of the buildings, we would not have any summer camp. So there's a little bit of a shorter season, but we've come up with some extra time. So camp actually for Galaxy Junior and Senior, which is 1st through 6th grade full-day programs, that'll begin on July 5th, and it'll go to August 4th. It's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Obviously, little drop-off, pick-up times are a little bit different. We have an extended day option till 5:30. We also have a 1-week, 4-day, 3-day programs prior, starting on June 26th and June 27th and June 28th. So if you check out our website, it gives an option for that week that we have right between school and the 4th of July. So there's like a Skyhawks program and a little chemical creations program that your children can enjoy to take up that other extra week. And then we found that mostly people go on vacation in August. So also for the real young children, we have Camp Rainbow, which is a half-day program. It's actually, the director is, and I asked her if I can announce this, is Miss Batts, one of the teachers at Waverly School. So it's really good because that program's for children who are 4 years old to going into 2nd grade, and most of that camp is that 4-year-old, 5-year-old enter kindergarten and going into 1st grade. So it is really like has the whole entire Waverly School age children in it. So it's great. She's very happy to be back. She helped us out last year when we were we had the program at Waverly. So it gives the kids an opportunity to meet either if Eastchester, Tuckahoe, or Bronxville, children they'll be going to school with in the fall. So it's a great program. That's also available. It'll be held at the Tuckahoe schools. And most importantly at this moment, as we said, we are looking for counselors and counselors in training. If you're 15 and would like to join us this summer, we'd love to have you as a volunteer at our half-day program, Camp Rainbow. It's a great introduction to working with children. If you're thinking about that as a teen, maybe you want to be a teacher or something with children, it's a great opportunity to start. And then once you turn 16, you can get paid. So come join us, call our office, or log online for an application. We're accepting them, and we can't wait to see so many. So we really will be servicing students and residents between the ages of 4 up to 75 years old if you'd like to work, or older, whatever you'd like. So whoever would like to come, we'd be more than happy. We also hire EMTs, and I know Lake Isle hires lifeguards, which the camp go to as well.
Thank you, Sam. I just wanted to make one further comment that, I think it needs to be underscored that we're both in the business of building buildings and large projects. And when you schedule a large project and you work out your budget and you work out all the details, it's very difficult to reverse things. But I want to thank the district, because I was speaking with Ron and Chris, and they got on the phone with the contractors, rescheduled all of the construction work, changed everything around in order to accommodate these camps. So, it was a huge undertaking to do that. I'm sure there'll be a couple of hiccups, as there always are, but without their cooperation, without their effort, this wouldn't have been possible. Unfortunately, camp will be a little shorter than it normally is, but it's a small price to pay rather than have no camp at all. And I really appreciate the fact that you worked it all out for our benefit. It was very, very kind of you, and I'm sure the kids appreciate it. I know the parents are appreciating that too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention this one other thing that we're having, which is, I think, the epitome of joint school and town, and it's bringing together a lot of the school and the town and a lot of organizations. On April 21st, the Eastchester High School boys and girls lacrosse teams are playing against Ardsley High School at Handel Field under the lights, but it's going to be the Light Up the Night Autism Awareness Night. The funds being raised are going to Eastchester SEPTA as well as Southeast Consortium. Southeast Consortium provides recreation services for people with different disabilities in the town of Eastchester. It's 9, Eastchester, Tuckahoe, Bronxville, and 6 other towns and villages in the southeastern part of Westchester, as well as the Blue Devils lacrosse is playing at halftime. So we really have a lot of the town incorporated, and we're working with the school on that. We're getting a lot of people to come. You'll start seeing T-shirts and bracelets for sale and stuff from the school. So it really is a wonderful collaboration. So I felt it would be remiss if I didn't mention it, because we're talking about things that we do together. So just like Supervisor Calavita said, the school plays under the lights. It'll be one of the nights where 2 of the teams will be playing under the lights that evening and benefiting wonderful causes that I know they'll use that money to do further programming at both SEPTA and Southeast Consortium. So.
Thank you, Sal.
Thank you.
I think it's appropriate at this time. Peter, are you prepared to say a few words about the use of our track? The board and superintendent would like to open up the track again. Several of our community members have asked about that, and certainly with spring in the air, would like to make an announcement as soon as this weekend on our website. Peter, thank you.
Hi, how are you all doing? We've negotiated and talked and went back and forth. We're going to open the track from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Sunday. We will have a security person there on Saturday and Sunday from 6 a.m. to 8, and then from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. to lock it up. During the rest of the time, we'll be open. Red has sports, or AD has sports on Saturday. The town runs a lot of programs Saturday afternoons and Sundays, so hopefully we keep an eye on it, and we'll go from there and see what happens.
That's great. That's fantastic. You can burn off those calories from this winter.
Right? Okay.
No, that's a good idea. I think it's well received by the public, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did put, at Mr. Valenti's request, Superintendent Valenti's request, we had added some lighting on Lincoln to help illuminate.
I think you helped us.
Peter, use the microphone. They can't hear you.
I think last summer you helped us add some on Lincoln.
Yep.
And then we've done some work up on the track itself.
Yeah, it's great. And again, going forward, anything you guys need, we're happy to provide, especially if it pertains to, the track and recreation and all. So, happy to do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vito?
I'd love to add to that. And my question is that on, I think it was Martin Luther King Day, which is a school holiday, track is closed because we don't have anybody to open it or close it. And I'm kind of wondering if we could ask maybe the town to put on their thinking hat, if there's somebody available just to open it and close it on a holiday.
Yeah, I think so,
like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something we could do jointly, and then, because, holidays like that happen.
Yeah, we have one coming up soon.
Well,
Yeah, and we don't have somebody here
Well, we would- yeah,
at the
no,
building.
If you provide us with a key, we can do that. No, like remember down at the bottom of Stewart, there's a key system for
Yep.
the fire department has them, we have them, police department has them. So
Exactly what I was thinking, but it's something
Mm-hmm.
that shows people that, hey, as a board, we want that track open as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And as a community, the community wants it as well. When we work together, we figure out a way to do that.
And Sally has a combination. Matter of fact, she gave me the combination today.
All right.
For your separate box. We have a school lock key, and the town has their own key too. So
we can work that
available.
out. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
That'd be great, and then we could open the track on holidays too.
Okay,
Great.
great.
Thank you.
Brad, Athletic Director, did you want to say any words while we have both boards together? I'd like everybody to know Brad Gitman is our Athletic Director K-12 and manages all of our sports and activities.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for hosting this meeting and having me here, Dr. Valenti and Mr. Calavita. And Sally, great plug for our Light Up the Night. That's a great event that we host. It's been, how long have we been doing it? It was before I got here.
It was, pre-COVID.
And pre-COVID. So, as Sally mentioned, that is the lacrosse teams are playing night game under the lights. Our spring season is now underway. We know that as Peter just mentioned, that does impact our track and field, but we're happy to have it open and make that work for the town and the community, because we do want folks to prioritize health and wellness, but at the same time keep our students safe, keep them safe, so that our students are on the field and they prioritize, as Mr. Calavita said, our varsity and our school programs while we're out here. Other than that, we look to continue to partner with our town. We share a lot of spaces. There's a lot of work that has to be done. There's a lot of work that is being done, so we look forward to creating a comprehensive plan specifically around our facilities, so that all of our students, regardless of our interscholastic activities, have access to them, and they're in great shape, so that we can continue and build a more successful football team under the lights. Thank you very much for having me here tonight, and if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, Brad, before you leave the microphone, we have a lot of kids who want to play, and we don't have enough teams to accommodate them. And a big problem is lack of fields, correct?
Well, I mean, one of our issues with facilities is our facilities are stressed. We have a full complement of interscholastic athletics, including multiple modified teams in certain seasons. Fall happens to be, we have 2 girls volleyball teams at the modified level. In the spring, we have 2 boys modified teams. And with limited space, with no lights, with the spring weather, for example, in the spring, you lose a lot of time. So to increase participation and increase teams, we have to figure out the feasibility and where we're going to put them. Luckily, we have town fields. We use Handle just about every day for practices. We'll utilize them for night games, for special events. But yes, we are stressed. If we can find innovative ways to fix this over the course of the next few years, I think that will at least alleviate some of the stress on the programs now, and it allow us to grow in the future.
That's how the Sports Council was born. I see our town historian, Dick Forliano, here. I'm a bit of a historian myself. Many of us lived through the dirt issue back in 2003 and 4, and half the fields in the town were out of commission. So it became very cutthroat. I mean, it was really bad. So that's where the Sports Council was born, because everybody was all over every field. There were fist fights. It was crazy. So we said we got to bring everybody in. Everybody's got to calm down, and we got to figure out how we're going to handle all of this. And the districts, plural, 3 districts, were exceptional, as was all the leagues in town. They all recognized that there was a big problem here, and everybody shared. And then from that, we developed this whole schedule, and we hope that when people aren't using the field, they call Sally so she can give it to somebody else. Or if it's a rain out, they don't go on the field. There's a whole bunch of protocols that we have established, but it was all born from necessity. So, it's there, it's a tool. I know you've been to the meetings, I've seen you there many times. So that's something we can continue to do, on an as-needed basis.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's it on our part.
We are up to the dedication of a
Dedication.
portion of Stewart Place as Dom Cesare Way.
Oh, yeah. I just, if I could chat on that
Yes,
for a moment.
please.
I was in my office and Lisa says, hey, Vito's here. I said, okay, send him in. And he came in, he goes, let me ask you a question. He said, those signs in the street, where do you get them? Who makes them? Where do they come from? I said, Franco. He does them in Town Hall. So he said, we collectively have an idea. We'd like to dedicate Stewart Place to Dom Cesare in his name. And he said, well, what are your thoughts on that? I said, I think it's an excellent idea. I said, and we'll throw in the signs at no cost, of course. And he said, what do you think would be a good name? So we had a couple of ideas, and it turned out that Dom Cesare Way was the way we chose and the path we took because of his way, the way he did things. So we had actually the signs made. I brought one here, and this is what will be mounted. I'm sure that the district will have a ceremony at some point in the springtime, perhaps around a baseball game or something like that, or some kind of camp or something where we could do this for Dom's memory. But we made 3 of them. One for the top of the street, one for the bottom, and one to give to Lynn Cesare, which she could put in her trophy case or den or whatever, or
On her mailbox.
Mailbox, right? Give it to one of the boys so they can put it in their man cave, whatever the case might be. But it's a nice thing to do, and I think the board was spot on for coming up with this idea, and we're happy to participate in a small way, and we certainly will be present when the time comes and you guys do your ceremony. And I think it's just a really good idea, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. One more time for Mike.
Oh, my. Thank you, Mike. Anyway, I guess I'll take this back with me, and then I'll put it in the box, and we'll bring you all 3.
Are you trying to say something, Richard?
He wants to address the public.
Oh, I saw him pointing.
Yes, that's what, you want to let him?
Okay,
Yeah, you can
sure.
do it
Yeah.
now.
I know Dom Cesare longer than anyone in this room. We went to high school together. He was teaching here 4 years before I came here. We retired about the same time. I taught his kids. He coached my son, and on his last baseball team, my grandson played for him. And I just want to say just a few words about Dom. One thing about Dom, he cared about every single student, every single athlete, every person in this school, in this community. We didn't grow up here. We grew up in Pelham. But the people in Pelham and the people in Eastchester have the same, that Dom would use, concomitant values of family, hard work, discipline, compassion. I don't know if Dom, he was always so humble. He was a tremendous athlete, but you never heard him boast about his athleticism or his tremendous record as a coach. What he taught were the values that go deep into Eastchester's past. If you look at the north wall of Waverly, it says, "We come to learn, we leave to serve." Dom epitomized those values. And I just want to thank the Board of Education and the town, because it's hard for a lot of us who knew Dom. And we really miss him, and thank you for commemorating him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vito, would you like to say something?
Well, we want to do the resolution now?
Sure.
Yes.
All right, just before the resolution, I want to, Tony, thank you, because we couldn't have done it without the town. And this idea's been floating around for a little while, but we finally got the wherewithal to make it happen, and I appreciate that from you. I had invited Lynn Cesare here tonight for the resolution, but she couldn't make it. She's watching at home, or she'll be watching it on the recording. And I actually invited John Doherty here tonight from the Play for 10 Foundation John is not here yet. I expect he might be here around 8:30 or so to say something, because he's doing what Coach would want him to do. He's coaching baseball. So he's working with kids. He's at a clinic, and he will be here right after that. So, if I may, I'll read this resolution. Be it resolved, or I shouldn't say that. Whereas Dominic Dom Cesari's career as a teacher, coach, and administrator spanned more than 52 years, over which time he extolled the virtues of respect, discipline, hard work, and sportsmanship, not only by how he taught and coached, but also by how he lived. And whereas Dom Cesari made everyone he encountered feel included, welcomed, and valued, as he embodied the importance of family, faith, community, and country, while impacting the lives of countless students, staff, and individuals, both in Eastchester and far beyond its borders. And whereas that portion of Stewart Place, lying between White Plains Road and the swinging gate at the northern end of the Eastchester Union Free School District campus, falls completely within its boundaries, control, and jurisdiction. And whereas the district wishes to rename the portion of Stewart Place between the asphalt path leading to the gymnasium and the swinging gate to honor Dom Cesari's contributions to our community. And whereas the town of Eastchester has offered to provide and install 2 street signs on the portion of Stewart Place which is to be renamed, now be it resolved that effective Saturday, April 29th, 2023, the aforementioned portion of Stewart Place will forever be known as Dom Cesari Way, and Cesari Field will henceforth be located at number 10 Dom Cesari Way. And be it further resolved, the district acknowledges the participation of the town of Eastchester in this endeavor and is grateful for its assistance in providing and installing the street signs on Dom Cesari Way.
Thank you, Vito. Do we have a motion? Matt and Christy second. Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
All right.
That's nice. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Well done.
The dedication is going to be on Saturday, as I mentioned in here, April 29th, which is the weekend of the Cesari tournament,
That's it.
which is 4 Lower Westchester High School teams get together and they play in a tournament. They play a round robin. They give a trophy at the end of the tournament. It's the Dom Cesari Trophy. And each of those teams is coached by one of his former players.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
So
Great. We'll be there.
we'll all be there. Thank you.
All right. Do you
All right.
want to
Yeah, just
adjourn?
our end is going to know that the school district will continue this meeting. Perhaps you guys could adjourn for a moment and we can evaporate,
Sure.
do the Irish goodbye, so to speak. and then you guys can carry on. But I want to thank you all again. You made us feel at home here. We appreciate all your hard work. I know that we could probably talk for hours on budgets and home compact, the housing compact, and all that stuff, but we covered a lot of ground tonight, and we appreciate all of your support and your help. We're here to support you as well, and just keep doing the great job that you're doing. Really appreciate it. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Take a brief recess or adjourn?
Take
Okay.
a quick recess.
Okay, we're going to take a quick recess.
Yeah. Motion to adjourn on our end? Yes, so
All right.
see you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We will begin the superintendent's report. We'll keep it brief, but this is a regular meeting, and there are some areas that we need to cover tonight. Number one, I want to apologize on behalf of the Board of Education and myself to the entire community that the audio of last week's PowerPoint on the budget was practically inaudible. And I will be redoing the PowerPoint again this week so that we will have appropriate audio to accompany the PowerPoint and the video. I also want to thank Kevin, our Director of Technology, for getting us this equipment rapidly. And it's on loan right now. We are purchasing our own, but we're sort of testing it tonight as well. So, Kevin, are you in the audience? There you are. Come on up here, Kevin. I want you to talk a little bit about what we need to do to make ourselves whole so that going forward, our board meetings are going to be streamed properly, and folks out there are going to be able to hear us. So come on up and tell us what you're doing. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, good. I hope everyone at home can hear me, too. It's been a long road since last week to get to the point we are now. Certainly, the equipment that's in front of us, as Dr. Valenti said, is on loan. Very big thank you to another school district in Westchester that was willing to allow us to do this. These are the same microphones that we're looking to do. What we did, and the technology team has been absolutely phenomenal over the last week, really committed to making sure that the community can hear the great work that's happening around this table. What we did was essentially reach out to some consultants to ask, what do we really need to make this a much more professional production and ensure that everyone at the table can be heard and our community members that come to engage with the board and with the school district can be heard as well. And so moving forward, we're looking to purchase, we have actually moved to purchase equipment very similar to what's in front of you now, enough to fill out the Board of Education here, all of the seats at the table. And we'll be continuing to work with the consulting firm to determine how we need to move forward with our live stream. We're currently using a platform for live streaming that is technically challenging to work, and there are some simpler solutions out there that are much more reliable that we're looking to leverage. We did quite a bit of testing this week and chose to go today with one that we knew would work and work reliably. We do have a few redundant systems happening now too, so that if there are any problems tonight, we're able to get back up and running. So there'll be some changes to how the board is set up and what the mechanics are behind the scenes to make sure that our board meetings are appropriately recorded and live streamed, and more to follow, I think, is the best I can say on that. But quite a bit of work to do. This was kind of step one to get through our meeting tonight, which we know is very important, and then we're looking for more permanent solutions moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And hopefully that equipment that we ordered, Kevin, is on the way somewhere.
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Okay, very good. Okay. We did advertise this as an evening for budget review and discussion. I did want to make a couple of budgetary points and then open it up again to the board for any questions that the board might have. But one of the items that didn't show up in the PowerPoint, but was budgeted by Lee Lu after a meeting with our band managers, et cetera, is $50,000 has been budgeted for band uniforms. We've placed it in the 2100 code, which is the instructional code. Is that correct, Lee? We shifted it from the 1600 to the 2100?
That's correct.
Right. It doesn't change the bottom line on the budget. The number remains the same, but that number had been in there, and we believe that that number is a sufficient number to be able to purchase new uniforms for our high school band. Is that right, Lee?
Yes, they...
Did you want to say something? Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, that had been a request for several years, and I understand that the band uniforms, I think, are over 30 years old at this point, so we're hoping that that will make a big improvement.
Thank you very much for making that happen. I know it being one of the events here in town and speaking to some of the parents and children that are in band, utilizing when they're going to represent the community uniforms that are 30 years old. Doesn't make them feel good, doesn't make the community look good, so really happy to see this here, and thank you for highlighting that. Appreciate it.
Can I add something to that?
Sure. Budget discussion.
Well, on the band uniforms, I want to say Supervisor Calavita, he didn't say it tonight, but he announced that Eastchester's bringing back the Memorial Day Parade, and I don't know if we could get them on time for that, but if we could, that would be an outstanding accomplishment where our kids could march in the Memorial Day Parade wearing their new uniforms. I don't know if it's doable. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea. And if it can happen, it would be great. And if it's got to wait until September, it's got to wait until September.
I will say, Vito, in working back with them, because I've spent a lot of time with them on the uniforms, it's like a 6 to 9 month lead time from what I understand to get that. But good question, but I think it takes some time for them to create them. So
Well,
we
that
probably
answers
missed
that,
that
so.
opportunity, yeah.
Let's make sure we get them in time for one of the parades, you know? Maybe Columbus Day.
Well, we could start the purchasing process.
Yeah, and if it takes that long, maybe we could have them for Columbus Day.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
We can call Lee, we can call the band folks up and get purchase orders set up and get them out.
As soon as the budget's passed.
Yeah, once it's passed.
Well, if the board authorizes it, we can anticipate. How about that? Do we all agree that we're going to stay optimistic? If not, we'll charge it to this year's budget. We've got a budget to charge it to. All right. But we'll get the show on the road. 6 to 9 months is a long time.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll need to move quickly. I did want to review again for the sake of the community and the board, very briefly in one slide, that we are talking about no tax levy increase. As we explained last week, that means 0% for all practical purposes. Actually, when you do the calculation, it's going to be $8 less for a home average assessed this year. So that was the first section of our budget that we talked about, well below the inflationary numbers that we know exist out there. We discussed a number of new program initiatives ranging from Waverly, kindergarten, right through 12th grade and beyond into athletics. And we also discussed publicly work that we want to do on the fields, facilities, message board, et cetera. And tonight we did add the band uniforms. So we integrated that with the facility improvements we'd like to make. So at this point, do any of the board members have any questions, or have you heard any questions from members of the community that our administrative team would be able to address this evening?
The one thing that I would add, Dr. Valenti, as well, that we highlighted last week, and just for those folks that couldn't hear, was also a digital billboard at the campus. You know, currently, for those of you that couldn't hear, I believe we have a banner that's basically up, and we are budgeting for a digitized billboard. So again, Lee, thank you for your diligence on that. I know we're going to start the investigative process because, you know, I think there's a common theme there between uniforms and a banner. You know, we should take pride in the things that we do every day and take pride in our community. Our kids take pride in that, so I think making those investments is going to make a big difference for us. So thank you for that. I did want to highlight that, Dr. Valenti, because I know after the last presentation, for the folks that were here, that was actually a big development. That may not seem like a big development to some, but it's a big development for our community.
And to add to that point, we did put in a transfer to capital of $1.7 million. A portion of that, $411,800, would be dedicated to certain district upgrades, and that does include the LED message board. Okay. Are there any other questions that any members of the board have? With
The feedback in the community has been extremely positive.
Yeah.
Extremely positive. It's been something that, you know, people have wanted for years and years and years, and we finally delivered it.
Good.
So,
Yeah,
kudos.
Christy and I, and perhaps some of the other board members, were on a call Monday, a Zoom call, I think, with District PTA. Well, that was last night. It seemed like 10 years ago. And we did do the PowerPoint shtick. It took a good 40, 45 minutes. There must have been about 60 parents, I think, on the call, and perhaps others. And Michelle Forsaglia ran the meeting as the president, and she got back to me, maybe a couple of hours later, around 10:30 at night, and they unanimously support the budget and the proposal. So that was good news, is good news, and they'll be sharing that information with all of their local PTAs. So again, if there are any groups that would like the presentation, we'd be happy to accommodate them in some way. But we do want to keep the information coming out to the community. And again, to review the dates, just so we're all on target as to what's going to happen. We'll talk about the budget as much as you'd like tonight. And on Tuesday, April 18th, the board will meet. At that time, again, we could have a program review. If there are any questions about the budget, we would like to address them with you. And then the board would adopt the budget that evening on the night of the 18th. On Tuesday, May the 2nd, there will be a public budget hearing in this room. The public is invited to come and again ask questions about the budget that the board has adopted. And then, of course, the community on Tuesday, May 16th, will have the opportunity to vote on the budget itself. So those are the target dates that we've set for our budget for next school year.
Oh, can I just remind the public of one thing, since we probably have
Sure.
a lot of public watching tonight, is even though there's no tax levy increase, the formula for what your actual tax bill comes back may show something other than $0.08. So I want to make sure we're not making promises that the public sees differently on their tax bill. We are not increasing the tax levy, but depending on certiorari's and other things, you may see a number, plus or minus. There's no way to know at this point, having to do with the total tax roll to accommodate that levy.
That's
so
a very good point.
Yeah.
There are many variables that go into a tax bill,
Right.
per se. The numbers we've used are the average assessment within the town. Some folks are below that,
Right.
some are above that, so that could factor into the number. And in the interest of total transparency, one of the questions that was asked last night was, well, if you don't increase the tax levy, aren't you losing money? Aren't you taking money off the table? The way the current law is written, the answer is yes. And specifically, correct me if I'm wrongly, we're talking about $650,000 to about $700,000. I think $690,000 may be more precise.
Right.
We are not collecting $690,000, right? Where is that money going? To the taxpayer.
That's right.
So we acknowledge that rather than putting it into the district coffers, it remains with the taxpayer. We're not going to be able to regain that money a year from now. We're leaving it with the taxpayer. I think that's an important statement. So under current law, that is the way it operates. That's why many districts perhaps try and avoid a zero, but we think this was the year to do it. It was the moment. We have over $3 million in foundation aid alone as a bounce. We're not going to get that next year. You didn't get it last year, but we got it this year. So I think we have every reason to do what we're doing this year. And there's other money left on the table, too, if one wants to make that argument. Right now, we don't have pre-kindergarten. There's $1 million in Albany if Eastchester wanted to have a pre-kindergarten. Now, that would never pay the entire bill, but it would pay a good portion of the bill. So sometimes in law and legislation and state aid and school districts, you can't use all the money that technically is out there. Then again, there are other areas, budgetarily speaking, where we actually build up enough money in the budget, textbooks being an example. We know that if we go up to a certain amount, we're receiving state aid minimally up to that amount. If we need more textbooks above that amount, that's fine, we'll put it in, but you never go below that statutory amount from year to year. So there are ways you capitalize on aid, and then again, other ways that you can take advantage of it. Did you want to add to that, Lee, or is that? Any other questions on the budget?
Just a comment on the question regarding by having a zero, are we losing anything? And the people need to understand that our actual spending, and Lee, correct me on the number here, I might have it close, our spending is increasing between 5% and 6%, roughly?
Correct.
Roughly, okay?
Yeah.
So we are investing into the district, but the source of that increase is being funded through other revenues and not the tax levy. That's why we can hold the tax levy to zero. Or zero, okay?
That's correct.
So people, it's not like we're increasing and then cutting everything back so that we have a zero increase. That is absolutely not the case.
No.
And I think,
You're talking budget to budget, there is no zero increase there.
Correct.
Right. And I think, Dr. Valenti, the important distinction that you made, and just to reiterate that is, the idea or the question of is money being left on the table connotates that there's free money out there, right, that we're not taking advantage of. To talk about that in terms of leaving that money in the taxpayer's pocket or in the community's pocket, I think, from the folks I've spoken to, Vito, right, and Chrissy, leaving that money in the taxpayer's pocket, especially right now, is more important probably than ever before in this economy and some of the struggles that people are going through. So the fact that you, Lee, specifically, were able to figure out those independent revenue streams for us, right, and figure out how to fund that increase, I think makes a world of difference to this community, to families, and to the seniors here. So again, I thank you. I don't think they heard that last week, but we're getting new microphones, right? But seriously, thank you for that.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Good.
Okay.
We're good.
Good.
So thank you. I don't know if there are any further questions and comments, but that concludes the superintendent's report.
Just to reiterate, you couldn't hear the presentation very well last week, so the slides from the presentation are on our website right now, but Dr. Valenti will be recording the entire presentation again, and that will be posted on the website this week. So please look out for that.
Dr. Valenti, we're going to have to get you some Red Bull to go through the 62 slides all over again. So thank you for doing that.
We should have recorded you last night when you did on PTA Council. You did it for an hour. Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Christine?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda, which includes the following: 7, personnel agenda; 8, committee on preschool special education / special education recommendations; 9, business office recommendations.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Vito?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor? All right. So our future meeting dates are April 18th and April 25th. And now we are up to comments from the public. If you'd like to make a comment, you can please step up to the microphone, tell us your name. And there's a time limit of 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Megumi. I'm from September when I came to ask for a auditorium manager. I just want to thank you for finding such a wonderful auditorium manager. Nick has been nothing but a blessing. So it's come to our attention that it's very possible that he will not be hired full-time for next year. And because of this, I believe we are at risk of losing him. Nick has done so much for all the performing arts and all use of the auditorium and has relieved many students and staff of extra work outside of their field. In comparison to my junior year when I was running virtually all of the auditorium productions, this year with Nick has lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders and made my senior year something really to enjoy. I'd like to introduce Teresa Hawley and Stefano Renzo to sort of talk about what Nick has done to help us.
Hello, I'm Stefano Renzo. I'm a senior here, and Nick is our auditorium manager, has brought our auditorium activities to a professional standard. He fixed our speakers, stage lights, and curtains, which we didn't even know were broken, and a lot more. Thanks to Nick, Eastchester has been able to host events in the auditorium to a professional caliber that wouldn't have otherwise been possible at the school and district level. Nick has also made possible many things which we never would have dreamed of last year. And he also has a teaching degree, which could make him a very useful full-time employee at Eastchester outside of just auditorium work. This would further allow him to continue making a positive impact on Eastchester students, productions, and a club very special to us, which is Players Club. He's created an almost familial bond within tech and has given Megami and I something to really miss.
Last year when he was not with us, a large amount of the responsibility that came with his job fell on faculty and, more importantly, students like Megami and I, who would be called in with minimum a day's notice about events that we had to run. Nick is one of the most supportive people I've trained under before, and he creates a comfortable and fun environment within the club. On top of being so well-versed in auditorium production, he's an amazing teacher and is responsible for so much of what we know now and skills we can apply to the jobs we do within our extracurriculars. I'd consider him a mentor, and I've learned more about my job working with him than I ever could have by myself or underneath anybody else that I've worked with previously. Thank you.
Sorry.
Don't run away now. We're as happy with Nick as you are.
Yeah.
We're the ones who hired him. What do you mean he's leaving East Chester? Who told you that?
So we're worried that he's going to be hired part-time next year instead of full-time, and we worry that this puts him in that
Well,
he
I
may
don't.
leave.
I have to be very careful about talking about individuals publicly. Other than Nick has done a great job, we love him. We want to keep him here. Everyone I speak to only has the kindest words of gratitude for the work he does. So I do know right now he's working as a permanent substitute for us. Am I correct? Full time?
I believe so, yes.
Yep. And that certainly we are willing to continue with that position, or if he has an area of certification where there is room that we could work through, positionally we'd be happy to do that as well. So I don't know when you're going to see Nick next, but if you would ask Nick to call me at the office and we'll talk.
Yeah, thank
How's
you.
that?
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, we would just, if anything, we would just love to have Nick around for as long as possible. Yeah.
Well, we share your sentiments, to be honest with you. And even when we bring in outside groups, they ask if they have a manager for the auditorium manager, and Nick is able to do that and make some additional bucks in the evening.
Yeah.
So it really is a nice, fitting relationship that Nick has, not just with our own students, but also with a number of outside groups. For example, the dance studios are coming in here later this semester. Nick will be working with them as well. So I'd love to hear from Nick directly, and we can chat and talk about options. How's that?
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Good evening. My name is Evangelina Chifliganets, and I would like to bring awareness to the board to bullying behavior due to belonging to a certain minority group, whether it is being African American, a Spanish speaker, member of the LGBTQ community, or is in my family's case, being a single mother with a child in Eastchester schools for 5 years already. My son and I came from Manhattan after he finished second grade there, and he is currently in 7th grade in Eastchester Middle School, where he has been bullied regularly for not having a father, being told by other students, at least I have a father, and made fun of by an 8th grader who had the audacity to say to him during basketball practice in front of other students, "Come here, I'm your father." I've raised these concerns with the middle school vice principal, Ms. Hindell, the principal, Ms. Labu, and recently the superintendent, Mr. Valenti. Unfortunately, the bullying continued. My son has a Jewish last name, and one day after school, older kids from the bus came out to our front yard and shouted at my son, "Come out, you effing Jew." There has been judgment against our single mother household as if there was something morally wrong with our family by specific students and their parents, as if belonging to a traditional mother and father family is the only acceptable and morally correct family structure according to these students and their parents. On another occasion, an older student from the high school, who is also our neighbor, bullied my son on the late school bus, attempting to discredit and undermine my son while he talked to his friends and said to other students, "Don't listen to him, he doesn't have a father." Other students who were previously friends with my son adopted this uncountered bullying towards my son and kept bullying him too. In November 2022, the high school student who previously instructed other students to not take my son seriously because he doesn't have a father choked my 7th grader son on the school bus as the bus was standing and students were loading. Thankfully, there is a video document of this entire incident, and when I saw it, I'm telling you, this is every parent's school nightmare. The high school student was seated on the bus while my son was walking in the aisle to his seat. Then the high school student gets up and walks across the aisle, crosses over to the opposite seat where my son is about to sit down, and he puts his hand around my son's throat twice and choked him for a few seconds. After the incident, my son is with weak legs and needs to hold on to the back of the seat in order to not fall down. When he gathers himself, he walks back to the bus. After a while, my son yells to the student, "Hey, why did you choke me?" To which the high school student yells back, "Because you deserved it." I have high tolerance for kids' behavior and never wanted to come across as an overprotective parent. However, since seeing this video, I decided that I must press charges against this high school student who choked my son to make sure this doesn't happen ever again. This case is still pending in front of Westchester courts, and thankfully my son was given immediate order of protection. I am disappointed that the principal, Ms. LeBou, and vice principal, Ms. Hindell, as they have not shared this order of protection immediately with all of my son's teachers, and most of the teachers were not made aware that my son is experiencing verbal bullying and was almost killed by choking on the school bus. It is not a secret that bullying needs to be addressed as a community, not in secret and not behind closed doors. My son is extremely athletic and physically fit, having done competitive swimming for many years, and is among the fastest in his age group in entire Westchester. He also coaches young kids soccer and basketball and just started track at EMS this season, and his time trials, he comes as the fastest boy in entire Eastchester Middle School. So he is not a physically weak kid. However, according to my parenting methods, I have instructed him to never ever physically fight the bullies, just to verbally defend himself and report incidents to the school leadership. However, I am finding that some parents instruct their children to fight by themselves in the school or the playground. That makes our community unsafe, and I ask of the school to also reach out to parents of bullies and address their dangerous parenting behavior and values they teach their children. But to also work on making the bullying kids aware that there is nothing morally wrong with LGBTQ families and students, non-white families, Spanish families, or children of single mothers. Two of America's presidents in recent years, President Clinton and President Obama, for instance, were raised by single mothers, which is an obvious evidence that we single mothers can raise educated children with leadership abilities. Just yesterday, however, my son was bullied by a group of children again, who took turns to bounce balls on my son's head during recess in the school. If the bullying incidences were addressed properly by community education and diversity, this would not have been happening. So it is fair to say that so far the current leadership has failed my son, and I believe this is partly due to the biases and prejudice school leadership holds themselves. We didn't experience this sort of prejudice while in Manhattan Public School, where racism and picking on minorities was punished a lot more and deeply frowned upon. In Eastchester, unfortunately, these sort of biases have been wrongly addressed as self-defense. But that begs the question, why do some students feel threatened by minorities? And I believe you will find the answer at how their parents feel about minorities, i.e., not very positively. These extremist views of intolerance of anyone different are luckily a small community. However, dangerous and must be addressed as a community. My son loves to play with most of the kids from our neighborhood and boasts with friends from very diverse backgrounds. I've heard the reports in previous meetings by the African-American mother who took her kids out of Eastchester schools due to racism and her children being treated with disrespect and sidelined. I've heard the reports of the Spanish-speaking parents who found Mr. Valenti's comments for Spanish speakers offensive. I've heard from the LGBTQ parents, and my own son confirms that LGBTQ students are called slurs in the school hallways. So my report for biases against single mother students unfortunately seems as business as usual in Eastchester schools. Therefore, unfortunately, I have no confidence that racism and biased behavior and bullying against minorities will actually stop under the current school leadership. So I hope the board can offer us parents this time something more than just words. We need action because this sort of behavior is psychologically harmful to students who are in their formative years. Teachers should not treat students from minorities with mistrust, nor sideline those students or treat them as inferior. As I said, coming from Manhattan schools, this was totally unexpected for me. Eastchester schools have made the news few times for this biased behavior. So I want concrete solutions and change of policies that address this. Some teachers have been extremely nice to my son, where he has felt treated as equal to other students, and I want to thank those teachers. My son said that he wishes that his independent inquiry teacher, Miss Anisha Williams, was the principal of his middle school. When I asked why, he said, because she's very calm and open-minded about everything.
I'm sorry, it's a 3-minute time limit. If you could please wrap up.
10 seconds. So the current sentiment of my son is that the school leadership is not open-minded enough. My suggestion to the board is to reach out to all the parents who have complained in the past about racism and minority prejudice and ask those parents and students who they would like to see making decisions and leadership positions in your school, and try to promote those educators wherever possible. We have leadership issues and minority students are suffering as a result. Thank you.
I'd be happy to respond.
Sure.
Yeah. Ma'am, before you, I'd like to respond if I may. Sure. And I'm sure it was very difficult for you to make that extended statement. I went online, and I want to offer you support and help right here tonight. We have in Eastchester, as in other districts throughout New York State, what we call dignity for all students. You have addressed issues where you feel dignity is not being afforded. And we have what we call the DASA Act, Dignity for All Students. And we have a complaint form that is online. Or if you don't want to go online, we'd be happy to have you come to our district office tomorrow, and our administrative assistant or myself will give you the complaint form. We welcome complaints, not that we want them, but we'll welcome them where a family felt that there was a situation that a child was in any way abused, psychologically biased, or in any way that child's feelings were not treated appropriately. We'd like you to complete that form, as many forms as you believe are necessary. You mentioned 2 schools here tonight, middle and high school, and we definitely would make a commitment to follow up through the DASA coordinators in each of those 2 schools. So I want that to be an open invitation to you. And if you're available tomorrow, you know my administrative assistant, Lori. She's also the district clerk. If you'd like any counsel on completing the form, I'd be happy to work with you, or I'd assign another administrator. But the bottom line is that there is a tool available to every parent in this community, not just to you, where there is a legitimate complaint and concern. And that is on our website, Dignity for All Students Act, DASA, and you'll find that under the For Families section. Please take advantage of it.
And I just also want to add that I know last week when I did the board president report, the audio wasn't working so well, so you may not have heard, but we did talk about DEI last week, and that we are reconvening the DEI committee. And next month we will be meeting, and then we'll be breaking up into building level committees. So there will be a DEI committee in each school. Also, we are working with Southern Westchester BOCES on bringing in a consultant to help us, because we do recognize that this is a problem. I am very sorry to hear about your son. We hear you, we recognize it, and we are bringing a consultant in. And in fact, Dr. Valenti and I have that meeting tomorrow morning with the consultant. Okay. Any other comments from the public? All right.
Good evening. My name is John Earl. I'm new to your land. I moved here last August with my family, so it's nice to see a community in action. 2 questions. The budget. You said April 18th, right? It was going to be voted on by the board, or?
On April 18th, the board will adopt the budget.
Will
yes.
adopt the budget. What does the public get to see that budget so that we can take a look at it before May 2nd, I believe, the community vote is?
Yes. Well, in addition to the PowerPoint, which is online right now, which outlines parts of the budget and programs and goes into some details on teacher-student ratios, et cetera, Lee Lou will have available on April 18th a line item budget.
Great. I might not have said my name. John Earl. Nice to meet you. 42 Lawrence.
Right.
The next question is for the DEI. What kind of vision are we going to have as parents? Because, diversity does mean race, creed, color, but also means inclusion of kids with special needs. I think we leave that out a lot when it comes to inclusion. We seem to leave it out all the time. What kind of a line of sight are parents going to be able to have on that, on the initiatives that are coming from administrative level, not from a PTA level, but from administrative level?
Well, when the DEI committee met last year and made the goals, that was one of the goals, and I'll let Jackie speak to that because you were on the committee, but that...
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have the goals on me at the moment.
But that was part of it.
But when we were discussing, different groups and goals and visions, that was always included in the visions. I don't know, Dr. Valenti, do we still have those goals on
I
the
just
website?
happened to find it.
Okay, great.
We don't need to go over them now because I actually do have a prepared thing. I just wanted to ask.
Can I just briefly review them, sir, since you raised the question?
Sure.
Create a welcoming environment, foster high student expectations and rigorous instruction, identify inclusive curriculum and assessment. Those were the 3 major goals. I've already begun to list some specific items, but I won't recite them here, but those are our goals.
Okay, thank you. Now for my prepared statement. Like I said, we moved last year, and my kids go, well, my 7-year-old goes to Waverly, my 3-year-old is not there yet, obviously. We attended curriculum night at Waverly, and we were incredibly impressed, my wife and I, with the SEL presentation and the addition to the curriculum. This type of learning focuses on students developing life skills such as empathy, emotional intelligence, and goal setting. There's a large body of evidence-based research that a student's social emotional needs should be met before expecting them to absorb and retain academic information. For anybody who's an educator in this room, Maslow before Bloom, right? The idea of setting a relationship and then instilling knowledge. There is also evidence-based research that these skills are important as an academic content. When SEL is a supplemental curriculum is implemented correctly, there could be a dramatic increase in academic performance, student engagement, and reduction of at-risk behaviors, which I think we just heard a lot about, right? While there is a cost to this factor, the impact of SEL can create financial return by improving student performance, school climate, and increasing standardized test scores. These, along with the improved mental health of our students as a whole, make an investment in individual student and school success. Under the Every Student Succeeds Act, schools are evaluated on non-academic outcomes such as school climate, conditions of learning, and student engagement. Inclusion of SEL ensures that our schools are teaching the whole child, not to replace the family, but to utilize the social setting that school naturally is. For these reasons, we are wondering why this program no longer has a place in the budget for next school year. A concern with that is requiring teachers to build into the classroom. Is it putting too much on them? Who we have asked to focus on study skills, soft academic skills, ELA curriculums. I want to compliment Dr. Stoll's introduction of the Flex Support Program for the middle school and high school. I think we can all agree that this program is beneficial to our district for students who may be or near crisis. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 1 in 5 children and adolescents will experience a mental health problem or crisis during their school years. Schools are an ideal place to provide mental and behavioral health services to children and youth. Comprehensive school and mental and behavioral health services support the mission and purposes of school, which is learning. So I guess the question is, why is SEL not included for the budget for next year?
It certainly is.
Well, from the meeting we had last week, it sounded a little bit like it was being removed.
No, I think you're referring to a particular position in a particular school.
Okay.
But SEL is a K-12 effort for this district. Nobody's removing SEL from the Eastchester School District. In fact, you yourself cited 2 psychologists we're adding, one at the middle and one at the high school, in part to provide for students at that level. That's a new initiative.
At the grammar school level, is it the same kind of initiative going to be held for that?
Well, we decided that we'd take a different route than the particular route that was initially established. You're referring to the SEL/literacy position. And since we have 135 minutes at Waverly each day for ELA, 15 minutes more than the science of reading requires, which is 120, we decided to integrate into that big block of time not only our FLES program, which is Spanish, direct instruction to students, and that is a form of cultural understanding, cultural exposure, pathways for children to broaden their view. But aside from that minor observation, we also will integrate through our literacy program books, materials, etc., that are very content-oriented as well as SEL-oriented. And there's room in a 120-minute ELA block for a great deal of reading around these issues of trust, of sharing, of friendship, all of them major themes in a kindergarten curriculum. Okay. So in no way would I suggest we're abandoning SEL in any school here. We're just delivering it in a different way.
Okay.
And can I just add, I don't know, Scott or Greg, I believe the SEL teachers push into all of the elementary classrooms and do lessons. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Our school psychologists at Waverly push into classrooms and do lessons on SEL, and SEL is a big component. We're reviewing for the district our multi-tiered systems of support, and SEL is a major component. We look at it all the schools. So it is a vital, as you said, component to our educational process along with academics. So it still holds a very valuable place in terms of a kid's life. So we're looking at more efficient ways and ways to provide it, but it is here to stay, and as you cited, the research is pretty clear on the evidence of it, of the outcomes.
Okay, so that I think that's what I was really getting to, because I know we've heard there's different ways to do it. We're going to try a different way, but the overarching theme of SEL is going to remain in the elementary school, because you're doing a great job with what you're doing with the high school and the middle school. I think it's fantastic. I just want to make sure.
It's going to remain in the elementary, middle, and high school.
Yeah, I mean, but from what I've heard, like I said, I'm new here. I'm still learning the ropes around here, so I'm just trying to get a lingo down. But appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Matt, do we have a second? Christy? All right, all in favor? All right, good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.